Delphine Jubillar takes her dogs for a walk in the middle of the night, but only her dogs come home. Her husband tries to call her over 200 times, and finally, when he gives up hope, he calls the police to report a missing person. But this missing persons investigation will quickly turn into a murder investigation. This is the case of Delphine Jubillar. It's the 15th of December 2020 and Christmas is just around the corner. France has just come out of its second wave of COVID, and Delphine Jubillar, 33, a mother of 2, has been working non-stop at the hospital. She finally has a day off. So she goes Christmas shopping. She's preparing for Christmas. Her husband, Cedric, states that she came home and they had a normal evening. They had dinner and then she watched TV with her son, Louis, aged 6. Together, they watched one of Louis's favorite TV shows, like the French version of America's Got Talent. Cedric heads to bed early at around 10:30, leaving them to watch the talent show together. And then when the TV show finishes around 10:59, Louis goes straight to bed. Around about 4 hours go by. Cedric wakes up at 3 a.m. He is woken up because his daughter is crying, and when he wakes up, he sees that Delphine is not in his bed. He thinks maybe she's in with the daughter. When he gets to the daughter's room, he realizes that Delphine is not there either. So he checks the sofa. She often falls asleep on the sofa, but she's not there either. Something isn't not right. He thinks it's really weird that the dogs are outside because they always take the dogs inside in the evening. His immediate concern is that his wife has taken the dogs for a walk in the middle of the night and something has happened to her. The dogs must have found their way back to the house without her. Over the course of the morning, he attempts to call her over 200 times. Equally in his panic, he sends a group message to all of their friends saying, "Delphine has disappeared. Call me if you see her." 9 minutes later, he calls the police and he is crying. He tells them he can't find his wife. So the police come to the Jubilar household to investigate. The house seems normal. The police arrive at around 4:50 a.m. They ask questions and do a preliminary search of the house to find out if there's anything odd. They take note that there is nothing unusual in the house and there is nothing unusual with Cedric's vehicle. Satisfied with their work, the police leave the Jubilar household at around 8 a.m. in the morning. The news spreads quickly for 2 reasons. One, because Cedric has sent a message out to everyone he knows telling them that Delphine has disappeared, and 2, because they live in a tiny village in the south of France called Gagnac-les-Mines with a population of just over 2,000 people. Everyone knows everyone. There are often people reported missing, but quite frequently they are found relatively fast. So the first question the police ask is if this is a real missing persons case or if she's just run away. Delphine was 18 years old and in high school. She first sees Cedric, who is a little bit older than her, at a birthday party. He was loud and confident, and at the time he was learning how to be a tradesman to fix roofs and tile, and they fall in love. They are somewhat of an odd couple. She is serious with a career plan and he is more of a risk taker. However, in 2013, they decide to tie the knot. They have a very small and intimate wedding, and Cedric, being Cedric, arrives to the venue in a Ferrari. Then together they buy a big house with plans of renovations, a pool and a luxurious garden. And they have 2 kids together, which Delphine is crazy about. She will make cakes for their birthdays, go to every single event that they have, talks about them constantly. They are her entire life. But cracks begin to show in their relationship. Cedric at the time is smoking up to 25 joints per day. And on top of that, he has become quite argumentative with the neighbors, constantly bickering. At one point, he leaves this dirty handprint on their house wall. One witness who worked with Cedric for quite a long time states that he's a really nice guy, always there when you need him. But if you get on the wrong side of him, it's a different story entirely. His mum had been extremely young when she gave birth to him, so he was in and out of foster care. But now he'd grown up and he was determined to show his mum that he didn't need her anymore. Delphine, on the other hand, was known for being the life of the party. She was charismatic and full of joy. She would fill long night shifts in the hospital with laughter. But privately, she was suffering. One morning in a small coffee shop, she meets one of her friends and opens up about the reality of her marriage. The renovation work had stalled and the garden and the house were looking more like a scrapyard than anything else. Money was really tight and Delphine was paying for everything, including the mortgage. Over coffee, she explains to her friend that having Cedric as a husband was more like having a third child. She was unhappy. In the summer of 2020, things are getting worse and Delphine threatens to leave Cedric. Yes, I'm going to leave you. Not sure when. This is not the kind of life I want. What have I actually done? Maison bidonchon, voiture bidonchon. This is a reference to a comic strip which depicts this couple who are just messy and sloppy. She's saying the house is a mess, the car is a mess. Cedric was not at all ready to give up on the marriage. All sources are clear on one thing. Cedric was still in love with Delphine, so allegedly he began working on fixing the relationship. However, it was too late for Delphine, and there was another reason stopping her from wanting to work on their marriage. Delphine had begun dating another man, and it was beginning to get serious. She had become quite infatuated with the new relationship and started to get fit and healthy. She had rediscovered her joie de vivre. So the tension between the married couple grew. Leave me alone. Tomorrow I'll call a lawyer. It's over. There's no going back. Please no. I love you. I don't care about the consequences. It's clearly not going well, and Cedric is beginning to get suspicious that there is someone else in her life. So he has the genius idea of secretly downloading an app on her phone to trace her every move. But she immediately receives a notification telling her that he has secretly downloaded an app on her phone to trace her every move, and she is furious. When she confronts him, he says that it wasn't him, it was his mother. And when she asks his mother says, yeah, it was me. We'll later find out that his mother was just trying to save his integrity. Cedric is not handling the separation very well at all. Delphine was the person that gave him everything. So knowing that from one day to the next his whole life could be completely flipped around was terrifying for him. Fact number 1. The 15th of December is anything but normal for Delphine. On this day, the wife of Delphine's lover finds out about their relationship and their plan to run away together. So she sends Delphine a message. You will take my place, but until that time, I ask you to stay in your place, to let us spend the holidays together in peace. Delphine respectfully agrees. But this revelation for her is kind of exciting. She now knows that it's all becoming real. And so she and her lover buy a really expensive bottle of wine to celebrate, which is kind of the opposite of leaving them in peace for the holidays. Fact number 2. Also on the 15th of December, Delphine decides to close her and her husband's joint account. This is a pretty definitive move that their relationship is definitely over. And so there are queries as to whether this was the moment of realization that she was actually leaving. Fact number 3. The most worrying thing that the investigators had found out is that they had 5 different people telling them they had overheard Cedric saying that he wanted to kill his wife. She was planning on leaving him, she was planning on divorcing him, so he was gonna kill her and bury her where nobody would ever find the body. Cedric, when questioned about this, never denied saying that he was pissed off and he was gonna kill her, he was so mad. But in the context of someone who was in a really bad place, he never actually meant any of those things, apparently. As far as evidence goes in this case, they don't have so much. There was a pair of broken glasses that Delphine had allegedly been wearing on the evening that she disappeared. The glasses are found in the Jubilar house. But that's it, other than a solid motive. So Cedric is the prime suspect and the only suspect at this time. But they absolutely do not have anything to arrest him on. So they decide to watch him closely over the next few months. On the 23rd of December 2020, 8 days after the disappearance of Delphine, a search party is organised. Cedric is among them, and so is a bunch of journalists. The story has hit the media hard, and the people want answers. But on this day, Cedric refuses to answer any questions. More than 1,000 people join the search of Gagnac-les-Mines. The amount of police effort they are seeing, people are beginning to suspect the worst. Within the search party, there are two distinct cliques. We have the family and friends of Delphine, and on the other side, the people who are close to Cedric. In the afternoon, apparently, Cedric was beginning to feel the tension growing between the two groups. And he felt like all eyes were on him for all the wrong reasons. So he decides to give up on the search. People think that Cedric has done something to Delphine, and these suspicions are only reinforced the following day. On the 24th of December, a search warrant is given for the Jubilar household. This restricts entry to anyone except detectives and forensic experts. Cedric is forced to move into his mother's house, whilst investigators meticulously search every inch of the house. They use a plethora of technology, but one of the things is search every single corner for blood, and they come up with nothing. People begin coming forward and talking about Cedric's personality, which only adds fuel to the people who already believe that he is guilty. Things like he has an aggressive personality, he is not a hard worker, and he is constantly smoking pot. He hastily builds a brick wall in his driveway from the bricks found lying around his mess of a garden. And this is to keep out any nosy neighbours and the hordes of press that are coming after him. These journalists are hungry for information, and he has established a kind of hostile relationship with them. Police had placed a tracker on his car from the 16th of December and also searched his house from top to bottom. Over the course of 6 months, they scrutinised his every move, and nothing he did or nothing they found was suspicious. Cedric, however, is beginning to like the notoriety he's receiving. He's found to be bragging about how he believes he's the most famous person in the region. In the months following Delphine's disappearance, Cedric starts dating again, people he met online. One witness stated that he was frequently partying. He was apparently drinking constantly with his mates at his house and allegedly playing techno music until the early hours of the morning. He had allegedly become convinced that people who would say bad things in the press and media about him were just jealous. Of what exactly is unclear. However, convinced that they are jealous, he decides to start collecting bits of information on the internet where people have slandered his name, and he wants to use that in court in a defamation case. He's convinced he's going to win a whole bunch of money from this case, and he'll finally be able to finish his house. Another search party is organised for Delphine 5 months after her disappearance, and also a white protest march from her colleagues in the medical field. By this point, Cedric is really uninterested in helping. He even mocks the people that are involved. He sent a message to one of Delphine's friends. What made me laugh is the way you walk and talk and cry with your t-shirts and your banners. You're like a bunch of turkeys giggling in front of the cameras. I feel sorry for you. Then he does something that shocks everyone. He posts a profile picture of him and his new girlfriend, just 5 months after his wife has disappeared. On the 14th of June 2021, Cedric is questioned by police at his work on his lunch break. And then 2 days later, on the 16th of June, he's taken into jail. This interrogation process has been called controversial by some. 3 people were taken in for questioning at the same time: Cedric, his mother, and his stepfather. They are questioned simultaneously in different wings of the jail by a team of people who are feeding the information back live to another team of investigators who are then preparing the next line of questioning. The questioning lasted 48 hours. Question after question, relentless, using the fatigue to draw out more answers. Are you sure you didn't have an argument with your wife on the night of the 15th of December? Why did you call the police so quickly when you couldn't find her? Why was your phone off between 10:08 and 3:53 in the morning? Why did you claim the divorce was going so well when everybody around you says it was an absolute catastrophe? Did you really know what your wife was planning? That she was planning on leaving and moving in with her lover? But even with the immense manpower and hours of interrogation, no new information is revealed. Jubilar's team of lawyers believed that this line of intense questioning was only necessary because there was nothing incriminating in his file. Zero. Therefore, they were trying everything in their power to get a confession. That is the only reason why such a huge task force was used in the interrogation. It was a perfectly orchestrated event, and yet they still found nothing, except a couple inconsistencies. On the 18th of June 2021, for the first time, Dominique Alziari, who is the head prosecutor for the area, goes live on television to make a statement for the first time about the case. He states that Mr. Jubilar replied to questions with inconsistencies, contradictions, and even lies. He reveals on the news that when the detectives arrived at the Jubilar house at around 4:50 in the morning, Cedric was suspiciously putting a quilt into the washing machine. It was the quilt that Delphine would have been using on the sofa that evening. That to me sounds really suspicious. He then tells the media that two witnesses at around 11:07 p.m. heard at that time a woman screaming. Cedric is taken immediately to jail and placed directly in solitary confinement. The only people he is allowed to see are his lawyers. If he wants to communicate with anyone else, it must be done by letter. And the reason for this is because of the media circus surrounding the case. More and more information keeps coming out about this case. The next time we're going to go into weird phone activity that happened on Delphine's phone hours after she had disappeared. We'll also talk about the blood found in the stolen white car. And lastly, the biggest bombshell in this case. We're going to talk about Marco, Cedric's cellmate, who is willing to spill the tea about his intimate conversations with Cedric. There's just too much to talk about in one episode, and more information keeps coming out about this case right up until this day. If you think you know something else, then let us know in the comments. This is still an open and active case, so anything that you can say could actually help in solving it. I just want to quickly say before I go that we are so hugely, eternally grateful for all of you who have subscribed. We almost have 100 subscribers at the point that we're making this video, which is more than we ever thought. We thought we'd have 4. We are just so happy that there's almost 100 of you. So thank you so much for that. Until next time, merci les amis. Au revoir. Bisous. So police had scrutinized his every move.